Welcome back to Tied Down TV, the punk rock pin show with me, Danny.
And Geoff.
And today we're talking about one of the most important record labels in the history of UK hardcore. Now, if you went to a show, I'd say specifically between the years 2003 and 2009, specifically in the north, chances are you've probably seen a load of these shirts, or shirts like this, on a lot of backs at the time. Obviously, Dead and Gone Records started in like 2001 or 2, I'd say. 2001, 2, 3, that type of period. And it's kind of funny, actually, when you think about it. Like, it's interesting because this is a label that started off primarily around straight edge culture and straight edge bands. It didn't particularly end that way, but that's how it started off. And when you think about it, it's kind of interesting. I never thought about this when I was really young, but when I was going to shows. But when you think about what happened a few years before Dead and Gone, in America with the Youth Crew revival, bands like In My Eyes and Floor Punch and all that type of stuff, it's pretty logical that a label like Dead and Gone would happen as a carry on from that. Okay. And all it would take really is the personnel and the drive to do it. So it was just a case of, did we have that personnel and that drive? Now, I suppose at the time, London and places like that were kind of rallying around Knuckle Dust and the LBU thing, but I think everywhere else in the country, especially up north, it was all flits and starts. And I'd say Dead and Gone kind of changed that. Now, I also want to mention as well a few other labels that were around the time that were putting out a lot of good stuff in this period of time we're talking of. Keep Screaming, Courage to Care, Zone 6, In at the Deep End, we're all putting out really good stuff. But I think in the 2000s, in that period, I think Dead and Gone and Ruction Records opened the portal and we all charged through. That's the way I see it. And I think this represented a real big peak in UK hardcore. People would say maybe we're peaking again, we're at another peak now, but I think this was a real red hot peak. I think one of the first bands you have to really talk about. Now, I'm not going to lie to you all. I didn't see every band that was signed to Dead and Gone. I never saw Spitfire Down. I never saw Betrayed. I never saw The Vows. I never saw Damage Control. But pretty much everyone else I saw. Right. I know you were, you saw a lot of the main bands.
Definitely.
It wasn't your. I'm straight edge, so it was always going to be something I liked.
100%.
Obviously, me being heavily into the LBU stuff, suddenly, with Dead and Gone and stuff, it was like I was spoiled for choice then. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. I had this stuff this side, I had that stuff that side, and it was just fantastic for me. But I think this CD here and this band is pretty important to talk about, even though this wasn't on Dead and Gone Records. Obviously, Dead and Gone Records was started by Ian Wiles and a couple of friends, and this was his first band, and I believe this was not released on Dead and Gone, but I think their later LP was Dead and Gone 01.
Okay.
And I think you'd probably have to mention this as an important catalyst for the fact that when these split up, I think it might have been that was the catalyst to start a label.
Yeah.
To put out the LP and start a label. So I think it's really important to talk about In the Clear as a very important starting point to this story. Now, when I started going to shows in 2003-ish, when I I'm not talking from like a concert perspective, like MTV2 hardcore bands here. I'm talking about the scene. When I first started going to shows in Liverpool and meeting people around 2003, the band The Last Chance that were the shit.
Yeah.
Like, everyone went on about The Last Chance. They had such a big thing about them and all that, and it's easy to see why. when you listen to the music, not just where everyone accomplished players, but also the live show they brought. Incredible energy on stage. Here we have the 2002 demo. Here we have the EP on Dead and Gone. And here we have the 7-inch. And just on the back there, Matt Ward doing one of his trademark jumps. Now, as I say, if you've seen The Last Chance, it's understandable to see why there was a lot of hype around them. Again, like I say, the music, very reminiscent of its time. And the high energy, you could see these were 4 or 5 individuals with a lot of passion for what they were doing. And again, that's supposed to be what it's all about. Now, here in Liverpool, we obviously had a strong Dead and Gone contingent, strong Dead and Gone presence, with 3 of our bands, SSS, Walk the Plank and the Down and Outs, all releasing records on the label. So let's have a look at what we've got here. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have everything Dead and Gone have released. I'd say I've got about 93% of it. Okay. There you go. So we'll go through. So, Down and Outs, Boys from the Black Stuff. So, memories of seeing Down and Outs?
Yeah, you see them quite a lot, didn't we? They were on a lot of shows. Amazing, great sing-along.
Yeah.
Straight up punk band. Mark McGill, a great songwriter, can write a great melody, still doing it with Down and Out and Rivalry now. But yeah.
I think Mark McGill and I think Thrash Gig, we've spoke about it before. Yeah. I don't really want to concentrate too much on the Liverpool bands because we've spoke about them so much. But obviously, they're a big part of the story. They're a big part of our story. Yeah. Without these bands, we probably wouldn't be sat here. So, there you go. But yeah, Down and Out. Obviously now, the big one for me, Walk the Plank. I do also have the LP in there. It's seen better days though, so I thought I'd show the CD. Now, Walk the Plank, I've always said, are probably the most important band in Liverpool hardcore. I liken them to a nice pair of jeans because I feel like Walk the Plank, their style was a style that would never go out of fashion. No, they could play any era and you'd still see it. Yeah. It'd still be sound like it was recorded yesterday. Mm-hmm. Just that like mid-pace rock and roll, aggressive sound, you know.
Amazing. And
you know, we've told stories about the violence of the Walk the Plank shows, but everyone was mates, and that's all it was always all about, wasn't it? Yeah. So, moving on, obviously, to now, SSS released a couple of records on Dead and Gone. Now, here we have the Dead and Gone copy of SSS's debut album, and here we have the Earache edition of the SSS album. Now, as I understand it, Earache weren't happy with this, probably for obvious reasons. They weren't happy with that, so they forced the band to change it to that, as I know. Yep. Lots of fun with SSS. I know they were one of your favourites.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, and where have I put that? Oh, yeah. Obviously, now, this was one of the limited edition 7 inches. I've actually got a backing vocal credit on this.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So, this was great. This was brilliant. This was one of my best memories, doing the backing vocals to the SSS record. So, yeah. Obviously, with Cliff Burton on there. Lots of fun. Always seeing Walk the Plank, SSS, and the Down and Outs.
Yeah.
And then, just as a little, I do think I've shown this before, but just as a little Easter egg for you, the SSS demo. I've said it before, I will say it again. I believe this is the greatest Liverpool hardcore demo of all time. I once pissed Foxy off because I told him once when I bumped into him in Liscard not long after the album came out that I thought I preferred the demo. And he was like, "What?" I was like, "I prefer the demo." Dead and Gone as well. I think the thing you've got to remember as well is how many record labels do you know that have such a cult kind of following that you feel you need to have everything that has that stamp on the back, everything that has that logo. Very few labels are able to achieve that kind of status. Do you know what I mean?
Very true.
I mean, what labels can you think? Ruction probably is the only other label in this country that's been able to do that.
I mean, nowadays, I don't know. Not many nowadays. Back in the day, I guess.
So you look at something like X-Claim. Yeah, the early X-Claim you want, all that and stuff.
I think early on, probably Discord, probably a couple of the other bigger American labels.
But we're talking about a small, independent British label here.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think of any.
And obviously, and that's what it was like, you wanted everything that had the Dead and Gone label on it. I certainly did, and that's why I've still got all these here. Obviously, Dead and Gone didn't just release British bands. Here we have Belgium's Justice, Look Alive, still in the cellophane. I have a plain copy up there. I do have a habit of trying to have everything in a sealed and still in a plain copy as well. But these were great. I love that classic picture of them all sat in front of the car. Where did you see these, Geoff? Because I know it was Heaven and Hell you saw them?
I think so,
with Mental.
Yeah, because I bought that, and I'm sure I bought it at the distro in Heaven and Hell at that show.
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen these a bunch of times. I saw them a good few times. It was always a load of fun.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, good. I always loved the artwork. If anyone out there has got the demo with the guy like that on the tape, I'd love to have a copy of that. If there's any of them floating around and you'd feel like, I might palm that off, come send us a message, because I'd love a copy of that flipping Justice demo tape. So we're talking Nothing Done. Seen these in Manchester, I believe. Seen them one time, Manchester. Lots of energy. Kind of like I think they were into like the skate thing, Nothing Done. But yeah, not too many memories of Nothing Done. But yeah, saw them at least one time. Obviously they released American bands. Champion. Maybe a bit less said the better these days about Champion. But yeah, this is actually a Bridge 9. I'm not sure I know it was the Dead and Gone released this.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
I guess it was probably the vinyl version that they released. And then obviously, and this one's a shout out to Mark Boardman for sending me this. Damage Control, limited edition, 96 of 100. Far better artwork than the normal one, I think. And then this is the classy, I just love that Dead and Gone. This was the slightly more controversial Dead and Gone logo with the guy hanging. I love that. That was amazing. That's a classic stuff right there. So yeah, shout out to Bordy for sending me that, because that was one thing I didn't have, and he sent me that. Now, these are some bands here that I never saw. So these are a selection of 7 inches that I never saw. So if anyone's got any memories of these, like for instance, Iron Age, I never saw those. I didn't see them. It's really good. I never saw them though, unfortunately. The Vows, who I believe are from Seattle. I think this was the only thing they ever released, actually. So they were obviously quite short-lived. Dead and Gone and Indecision Records. Really good, though.
It's good.
Yeah. Right, now this is a band from Wales who I never saw, but I've since listened to it again. And it was really good, actually. And I'm kind of gutted I never got around to seeing these. Ironclad. So yeah, I listened to that the other day after not listening to it for a very, very long time. And I was like, God, these were pretty good. I'm quite gutted I never saw these. But yeah, a lot of this stuff, another good thing about Dead and Gone was the distros that were always available at their shows. A lot of my memories from Dead and Gone are either Liverpool or Manchester shows. And the distros, it was literally just take my money. I want everything, take my money, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're another band I never saw. Now, I did see Self-Destruct, but I've got very, very little memory of them. Very little memory indeed. So, yeah. So they're I'm just going to share them, as I don't have too much to say about those releases. Now, On Thin Ice were a massive band during the Dead and Gone era, and they were really good. They were really pissed off, which is a bit more up my street. But they were a bit of a cursed band for me, and I'll tell you why. The 7-inch with the wolf on the front, I had 2 copies of that, and both of them were heavily defective. Then I picked up this. In fact, I think I picked this up first. Yeah, I got it home and it's blank. It's blank. My mate also bought one, and that was also blank. So I don't know what the hell was going on there. But yeah, On Thin Ice, the demo tape, All Guts No Glory, 04. Yeah, but they were great live. They were fantastic live. Remember the singer Nate punched him in the head during... so they played this, and I think it was The Promise, played after them, and I remember being punched in the head repeatedly by the singer. He didn't mean it. So, there we go. Now, a band who... I don't think these were British, but a band who I probably didn't like much at the time, but I've grown to appreciate them a lot more as I've got older, is Death Is Not Glamorous. Now, these guys here played the pop... remember that band Set Your Goals? They were quite big in the early 2000s. Like, they played a similar style to that. Back then, I was not into that stuff at all. This is something I've grown to appreciate much later as I've got older. I listen back to it with a more of an open mind, and I go, you know what? Yeah, I can see what all the fuss was about back in the day. Another band who I actually never saw. Actually, I wish I did now, because I've actually got a newfound appreciation for the Down and Outs, who probably at the time weren't aggressive enough for me.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been your thing. They were definitely more my thing back then.
Definitely more your thing. Yeah, I've seen, obviously being from the Liverpool scene, we've seen Down and Outs countless times, but I think they were a band I grew to appreciate later on, and I think the members in the band, I preferred each other member's other band.
Okay.
So I preferred Seconds Out. I preferred SSS. Yeah, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But yeah, Death Is Not Glamorous. Any more like pop punky fans might be into that kind of thing. In fact, matter of fact, if one thing that really annoys me, or it doesn't annoy me, that's probably the wrong thing to say, but I'd probably say that as big as this era was, and it was massive, like it was huge, I feel like a lot of like maybe the younger kids, a lot of them don't know it happened, if you know what I mean. I'm sure, obviously, I'm sure there's a large group that do, but I know a lot of bands, you'll mention certain bands to them, or bring up in a bit, and they'll go, ooh, and I'll be like, oh, you don't know them? Oh, man, do you know what I mean? But I think these two records here would probably be a pretty good starting point for people who want to go back and look at the Dead and Gone catalogue now, and they are Death Is Not Glamorous, because that stuff doesn't really, there's always people who are going to listen to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the other band, I would say, it'd be a good starting point for kids now, with what a lot of them are listening to now, would probably be this band, The Break-In. And this Ends With Us. Now, they also had a good 7-inch release on Burial Records, which was a good release too. This is the best thing they did in my opinion. They had a full length that came out on, I can't remember what label, which I was not into, but this was fantastic. And the thing I liked about The Break-In, I felt for a time, they were like the English Throwdown. Okay. Very moshy. Maybe not typical of what Dead and Gone were doing at the time. But yeah, they were kind of like, had that kind of early 2000s kind of like, not metalcore, but yeah, kind of like a throwdown.
Kind of like hardcore.
Yeah, kind of like a throwdown thing. And I feel like that kind of stuff has come in a little bit more in recent years. You see a lot of kids now at hardcore in like new metal shirts, which wasn't a thing back in the day we're talking about. No. And I feel like if kids now are watching this, if they're not familiar with the Dead and Gone Back catalogue, I'd recommend The Break-In as a good entry point for them, because I think, as opposed to some of the other stuff, I think The Break-In would be something they'd really take to.
Okay, yeah.
Really catchy songs as well. Okay, so let's have a look around what the rest of the goodies and see what else we've got. Right, one of my personal favourites. Did you ever see these, Geoff?
Ooh, possibly. I actually can't remember.
Right, one of the best bands on Dead and Gone, for my opinion. We've got the Restless Youth EP, State of Confusion. Loved these. I remember reading the flyer, and now I liked it that much. I've got two. I've got a 7-inch and I've got a CD. I saw these, I think, at least twice. So they did the gig. You did see him?
I will have seen him.
No, but you did see him because it was the Warriors flyer.
Oh yeah.
Which you were definitely at that. Yeah. That's the one Lecky almost killed you at, wasn't it?
Oh, the Halloween one. Yeah.
I think it was that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure Restless Youth played that. It was fantastic. Also saw him in Corova with Dirty... Did he play with... No, Adolescence, I think it was. Was it with Adolescence, maybe?
Don't get me started.
It was either Adolescence or Dirty Money. I can't remember. And all them. But I remember reading on the flyer, sounds like Bad Brains. I was like, who sounds like Bad Brains other than Bad Brains? But I tell you what, you listen to Restless Youth, you can see what people are talking about. They definitely had that, and I loved Restless Youth. I absolutely loved them. I thought they were amazing. Definitely one of my favourites on Dead and Gone, for sure. Now, Another one of my favourites on Dead and Gone was 50 on Red. Now, I only ever saw I saw these twice, and unfortunately for them, both times I saw them, the singer's mic never worked. How's that for some bad luck? So they played an all-dayer in Liverpool, singer's mic didn't work the whole set, and these are pretty fast, relentless songs, a set that would be over in 20 minutes. I saw them again in Manchester, and the singer's mic worked, I'd say, less than half the time. So I never really got a good crack with 50 on Red, even though I loved them. Now, I did try and find, just to show off, I have got somewhere in this house a 50 on Red long sleeve.
Yeah,
I've grew out of it. I can't wear it anymore. It's like a medium. I can't even fit my head through it. It says 50 on Red. It says You'll Never Learn across there. It's got Dead and Gone down the arm, straight edge down that arm with a live shot on the Rob Van Dam arms there on the back. Absolutely amazing. It was one of my favourite shirts for ages. I've never been able to see myself give it up. I love 50 on. What I liked about 50 on Red, they were really fast, but the vocals were brutal as anything. Really amazing band. Yeah, this was one of my favourites as well. Now, another band, maybe for a little bit more of the people who are into the bit of the less pissed off stuff. My band played these a bunch of times, and I met them a few times. I always thought they were pretty nice, actually. We've got the Legacy Dead Weight right there. And we've got, which I actually preferred, actually. We Gave It Everything. They did release an album, I think, on a major, or an EP on a major, which I was not too much of a fan of. But I actually really liked the Legacy. I thought they had, for what they were, really like melodic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about giving it your best shot, innit? All that stuff. It's all about giving it your good go, giving it your best shot. And I really like the Legacy. Like I say, played with them a couple of times. I think they caught a bit of slack for signing to a major or something. I remember some controversy with them where they pissed a few people off, I remember. And yeah, I think I remember them pulling out a few gigs because of that. So, next up, we've got Deal With It. Now, pound for pound, probably my favourite band on Dead and Gone. Maybe a little bit too pissed off for Jeffrey here, but here we have the Deal With It demo tape. Another Deal With It demo tape. So we've got 74, 1 of 100 right here. We've got the album. Now this was released on CD by Ruction. However, Dead and Gone released the vinyl version of it. We've got World Coming Down, one of the best UK hardcore records of all time. We have a World Coming Down 7-inch. I actually have two World Coming Down 7-inch. I've got one on red and one on black. I love Deal With It because not only were they ultra negative, they kind of had that twisty, groovy guitar thing going on. Mikey was a big imposing frontman, and I remember the first time I seen him, I think was with Terror, I think, in Manchester, and I've seen him a bunch of times. They always tried to, if Terror came anywhere near the Northwest, I always tried to go. I absolutely love it. Terror, woman about Deal With It came around to the Northwest. So not Terror, I fucking hate Terror.
Yeah.
If Deal With It came to the Northwest, I always tried to catch Deal With It. They were like I say, they were one of my favourite bands. I absolutely loved them. And then moving on from them, it only seems natural now to go to Dirty Money. Now, I've got to be honest with you guys, I think when Deal With It and Dirty Money came along, it was all fucking over. I think this period of UK hardcore at this point now, this 2000s peak period we're talking about, I think it had peaked at this point.
Okay.
When you think about what everyone was doing, you know, Dead and Gone was at its peak. I think you look at what bands like Knuckle Dust were also doing, all the Ruction bands were doing, little labels releasing. We just hit a massive peak at this point. Mm-hmm. Nothing was getting better because it was at its best. So obviously this comes out and I just think it's like, and then obviously the demo.
Yeah.
So I seen these before they released the CD, so I got the demo too. Make me an offer. Make me an offer. As soon as everyone hears that intro, it's just going off.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear that and you hear Graham with this, I've given up on you, like that, it's just it's kicking off, innit? Next time I won't be going 3. Yeah, and then obviously probably the greatest split in UK hardcore, even though one of the bands are from Baltimore. You've got the split with Dirty Money and Trapped Under Ice, which is obviously legendary. So, I think I've shown everything I've got to show. Is there any last thoughts on Dead and Gone Records from Jeffrey?
No, I mean, you covered most of it. You're much more knowledgeable about its back catalogue than I am. I think, as you said at the beginning, when we got into the scene, it was a big label. A lot of the biggest and best bands in hardcore at the time were releasing on there.
And also, as well, you never got a gig that was a dud.
No.
The lineups are always stacked, weren't they? It was always like 5 or 6 bands, and you'd be like, all the way down.
I agree. The Dirty Money EP is probably the best. I think my favourite thing on it, maybe.
Yeah.
Break It Up album as well. And
did they not show the Break It Up album? Oh my god, Lindsay's gonna kill me. We've got the Break It Up album here. I love Break It Up, and the reason I love Break It Up is because they remind me of Bold.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I you know what?
That's one of my favourites on the label.
You know what? Sorry, Linz. Yeah, Break It Up. These were a great band. Straight up, real like I say, old school straight edge stuff. Funny story as well. Flipping heck, almost forgot it. I have mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. The Manchester show with Underdog. Singing along to Break It Up. Linz as Mike. A picture appeared on the Dead and Gone board years ago. Linz was handing the mic to me, and someone had gone on Windows Paint or Windows flipping edits, one of them things, and the MF whatever, and he'd edited out his hand and the microphone and put a dick there, so it looked like I was going, and a dick was going in. But yeah, that was that's probably my funniest memory of Break It Up. But yeah, I only saw Break It Up, and that was the one time, and that was the time.
Yeah. Some of the stuff on the label is not my thing, but I think consistency-wise, even if it's not my thing, obviously I can hear if it's good or not, so to speak. Yeah.
Also, check out Lynn's other band, Unified Action.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's us talking about Dead and Gone Records. I believe one of the most important record labels in UK hardcore, around during probably
one of its peaks,
if not its peak that it's ever had. So yeah, share your stories, share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Anything to add?
Nope, that's it, I think, isn't it?
Join us next week. We've got a very special guest appearing on.
Yeah, but you know the score. Jump on the socials and all that. Give us a like and subscribe on here. Ring that bell. Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see you next time.